Hi, I'm Randy Walters with Coal-Fed Families. This is a series that we're doing with Phil Moffett, who is a Republican candidate for governor. He has some really great ideas. And when it comes down to us in the coal fields, his ideas about coal and about coal severance tax money, that we should get all of it back, and the way we need to protect our businesses with the state leading the way in a fight against the federal government through state sovereignty. It makes a lot of sense, and it goes along with everything that I think, and so many of you out there have told me, is the way things should be done. This broadcast, we're going to talk about education. And one of the disturbing things about the educational system is that 60% of Kentucky's high school graduates need remedial courses before they can get into college. I think in the local community college system or KCTCS, the number might even be up in the 80% range. Mm-hmm. But and that is a sad testament to the educational system in Kentucky. It is obviously broken, and Mr. Moffett has some very strong ideas and strong feelings about the educational system, and I'll let him explain that to you.
Well, thank you. And what a lot of people don't know in Kentucky is that a third of the kids that enter our public education system drop out before they graduate. And of those that do graduate, as you mentioned, 60% need remedial education before they can get into our own state colleges and universities. And believe it or not, that includes a recent valedictorian of one of our public high schools.
Had to have remedial courses?
Before they could get into one of our own state colleges and university. So if you strip away the failure and you strip away the mediocrity, we're actually educating about 1 out of 4 of our children well enough to enter the workforce or enter college without any additional assistance. So 1 out of 4. And if you add up the funding that we receive at the state level, the local level, and the federal level, and average that across all public school students in Kentucky, we bring in just under $13,000 a child a year, and we're educating 1 out of 4 on that on $13,000, which is an amazing failure on our part.
If you have a classroom with 30 children in it, you're looking at almost $400,000.
That's right, of revenue coming into the state for those kids.
For one classroom?
Yes.
A lot of money. So should be getting a lot better results.
You are absolutely correct. If you add up, our education spend at the state budget level is in excess of 50% of the total budget. So that goes to education. I'm talking about K through 12 as well as the university system. It's about 56% of our total state budget. So it's not that we're not funding this enough. Believe me, we have enough money to make an effective school system. But what we have right now is a system that is basically built on a failed business model where hardly anybody could be held accountable for anything. The districts blame Frankfurt blame the district or blame the U.S. Department of Education, and it's a lot of this. And we need to strip that out and bring accountability down to the district level. The superintendent of the school system needs to be held responsible for the performance of the district and every school in that district. But we also need to allow that superintendent to act like a business person. They should be able to set their budgets, determine how much to pay people. They need to be able to make personnel decisions like hiring and firing principals and teachers and any other aspect of it, just like a business person would.
Don't you have in the system that we have now, don't you have a very strong protection system set up for bad teachers?
Oh, absolutely. If you're a tenured teacher, it's almost impossible, and it only takes 4 years to become a tenured teacher in Kentucky. It's almost impossible for you to be fired if you're not doing your job well. The only way that you can be let go is if you do something egregious, and if you harm a kid or something worse than that. So we need to change that, and there isn't a business out there that could have people that are tenured and totally protected that aren't performing, yet they have to continue to keep them in the classroom and pay them their pay and pay them their benefits. So the principals need to be able to hire and fire the teachers as they see fit in their schools. And to help the teachers, you know, it's an absolute truth that children do not learn unless they submit to their teacher. And we don't require that in Kentucky. A child can be as disruptive as they want to be, and they know they're not going to get punished. So teachers need to be able to kick chronically disruptive kids out of class and out of the school. And to protect the kids and those families, we need public school choice for the families. You know, one of the biggest complaints you'll get from people in the school establishment is that parents are not involved enough in their child's education. And I don't disagree with that. But our current system is structured in such a way that the district determines where your kid goes to where your kid goes to school. So if you don't want your kid to be in that school, you have no choices other than to move or to put them in private school, which is not an option for a lot of people. So what we need to do is give those parents public school choice. If their child is not doing well in their public school for whatever reason, they should be able to take their child and move their child to another school, even if it's in a different district. So they need that competitive, that'll introduce a competitive nature to our school systems, to where our school systems will actually fear losing students, which means they lose revenue. And today they don't have that fear. They have absolutely no impetus to perform any better than they are as long as they can keep getting the money they get. And this will introduce competition, and it'll make that structure a lot better.
There are actually some school districts that have policies that prevent students from going from a school they don't particularly like to a better school.
Sure. There are some districts or some counties that have an independent school district and they have a county school district. And in a lot of these instances, they actually had inter-district transfer agreements in place that allow kids to move freely between those two systems. But what ended up happening was one of the school systems started outperforming the other school system. And when that happened, too many kids went into the system that did well. And why wouldn't they, right?
Right.
If I'm a parent, I want my kid in the best system.
Right.
Well, what happened was the district that was losing kids canceled the contract. They come up for renewal, so they decided they're not going to renew them anymore. So then those kids that were going to a fairly well-performing school had to go back to the county system that isn't doing well at all. And what we need is to get rid of those district barriers and allow kids to move at the discretion of the parent, because the parent should decide where the kid needs to go to school, not the district.
Okay. We had that problem in Perry County.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the status of the problem of that is now, but there was a reciprocal agreement between the two schools, and they would fall out for one reason or another,
Right.
and decide they're not going to do this, they are going to do this, and it was just a hassle for students that lived out in the county and wanted to come to the independent school at Hazard because it was rated like number 5th academically in the state. So it would be a natural draw for students to want to go there. And the problem that I see with that is that the county schools should have been equally as good as the city school. There is no logical reason you can give me why it's not.
And I agree with that, but one of the reasons that mediocrity exists in our school systems is the school systems do not fear a loss of revenue. Businesses fear the loss of revenue every day. If a restaurant puts bad food on the table, people quit coming to that restaurant. And they have the choice. They can go to another restaurant. But in the public school systems, they can put bad food in front of our kids in terms of bad education, but we can't take our kids to another district. We have to go where the district tells us to go, unless we're willing to move or pay money to put our kids in a private school.
Okay.
So we need to get on the same business model as any other business would be, a restaurant or a gas station or grocery store. We need that same type of competitive pressure in public schools.
All right. I want to thank you for being with us.
You're welcome.
It has been our pleasure to have you here, and these policies that we have discussed in these broadcasts are the kind of policies that we need in eastern Kentucky. We're suffering greatly here because our governor has not protected us or not fought for us against the federal government in the coal industry. We all know the disparity among schools in this region. Mm-hmm. And we all know that the tax problem in Kentucky is an ugly thing that keeps business from coming to Kentucky. And that's why we need this kind of policy in the state government. And that's why Coal-Fed Families is now endorsing Phil Moffett for governor of the state of Kentucky. And we're going to do what we can to help him get elected. Thank you.
Andy. I appreciate that very much.
Mhm.